Hi YouTubers, this is Kate. Welcome to my channel. I'm excited that you are joining me. I don't really know what to say. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. As promised, today I'm going to go through what 2017 looked like for me and the beginning of 2018, and then just really tell you where I am now. It was March or April of 2017. I got really sick to my stomach one day and got sick in the bathroom and called Steven and pretty much passed out in his arms, and he had to drag me to the couch. I think it was just a vasovagal response because I was in so much pain in my abdomen. We knew that something was wrong because things weren't resolving like they typically did in the Lyme treatment pattern. We had to stop all Lyme treatment. And I can't really get into the intensity of how bad it was because I think that part of me kind of blocks it out, and then the other part of me doesn't want to sob hysterically for my entire family to see. So, I mean, to go from being on a really positive track and being on all these meds and seeing all of these, hopeful signs that things were getting better, and then to completely stop and not even be able to, I could not tolerate a baby dose. If I took a baby dose of an antibiotic, I would have a Herxheimer reaction that just, I couldn't work. I could not work. But my Lyme symptoms started to come back. You know, once you remove treatment, things can start pushing their way back in very quickly. So I went into my Lyme doctor, I want to say in June, and I said, I feel like this is taking over my brain. We need to do something. There's a baby dose of antibiotic Ceftonor that I would take. And literally I would use a syringe and take like 1/10 of that dose. And for 2 months, I slowly built that up through August. And I did see some of my symptoms going away, some of the neurological symptoms. So that was promising, but still there was this question of why am I having such horrible Herxheimer reactions? Why can't I tolerate anything? Why are all these symptoms back? Blah, blah, blah. I stopped feeling like my doctor knew what was going on. I loved her. She was so good. I just felt like I was not on a road out. And I had been on a road out for a while, and I needed to get back on a road out of this horrible situation. I got a recommendation from Dr. K, and I went to go to my current doctor in Leesburg, Virginia, so much closer to me. Basically, she said, okay, hold on. Let's stop the Lyme treatment. Let's take a look at your whole body, the whole picture, and see what's going on. Why are we not having a successful Lyme treatment? First of all, she tested my gut. Oh my God. The antibiotics wreaked havoc on my gut. Nutritional panels, I was absolutely malnourished in a lot of areas because of the fact that my gut lining was unable to absorb nutrients the way that it was supposed to. Luckily, the good news with the gut tests were, okay, Kate, we can rebuild this. Your mitochondria are still intact. So we can rebuild this. I also tested positive for Epstein-Barr, a reactivation of that virus, which basically just means at some point in my life I had mono. I didn't know I had mono. It can be reactivated by infection or other things that can compromise your immune system, which Lyme has done. She also tested me for heavy metals. I apparently have elevated mercury levels. Which is very confusing because I don't eat a lot of fish. So we have to detox the mercury out of my body. That's another thing. We started with gut treatment. There was an antibiotic that I had to take that was specifically for the bacteria in my gut. It's not systemic. It was going to stay in my gut. It made me feel really sick. And it seems like after I started taking that, things started going much more downhill than Steve and I had ever experienced physically for me. The amount of just dizziness and seasickness and vertigo that I felt in my head, I could not stand. I forced myself, I had gotten into this amazing choir, the Master Singers of Virginia. I forced myself to go to my first concert because I was not going to let this win. And I ended up walking off the stage, fanning myself for a little bit in the front row, and then somehow managing to walk across to a side door, and I passed out. That was actually the first time in my life that I completely passed out. Luckily, I came back very quickly. After that, the dizziness just got worse. My doctor was having me do this liver cleanse diet. And it was to help try to just detox my liver and get rid of a lot of stuff that might have been settled down in there from all of the treatment that I went through. In doing that, definitely detoxed me, but I got so sick, I couldn't participate in Christmas morning. And when Steve would come up to see me, I was literally just laying in the fetal position, just saying I needed help and I needed to go to the emergency room, or I needed my parents to come get me, or I needed something, because I literally felt like I had meningitis or something and I was dying. I was so dizzy and I felt so sick. I couldn't eat anything, and my spine and my neck were killing me. And that was what my doctor was telling us, was just a rapid detoxification. There were a lot of toxins that were released during that liver detox, and so that was horrible. Some more chronic symptoms started happening that I had never experienced before. The most disturbing of which was this pressure in my head. And I talked about, I've talked about uncomfortable feelings in my temples before. But it was like someone was literally squeezing my brains in the very, very center of my head. And this kept me crying all day. Because I couldn't escape it. And I felt like that's when we started talking about going to Johns Hopkins, because it seriously was the most uncomfortable, sustained physical feeling I've ever felt. I couldn't even, I would just scream sometimes. I couldn't, because I just couldn't deal with it. My doctors were giving me some medicine to help continue to detox me. Nothing was getting better. They would give me something, I would feel better for a little bit, and then it would go back. I also started to get this horrifying feeling of I could still move my arms and my legs, but I felt like there was this electric current running through my muscles and my, and it felt like everything felt weak. I felt like, I was not going to be able to move my body when I wanted to. So, and I didn't mention this, I realized, in my Lyme treatment video, but one of my big herc symptoms were that my legs would jerk and kick. Usually in the evening after I would take my evening dose and we'd be watching TV, my legs were jerking all the time during this period. This was January, February of this year. I'd felt a lot of cognitive symptoms before, but I hadn't experienced confusion. Where my husband would be talking to me, or we'd be talking to my doctors on the phone, and I would just start crying and shaking my head, and I just didn't know what was going on. So anyway, because my symptoms got so bad, neurologically, my doctor said, we need to try to get you back on some sort of treatment. I tried to go back on Banderol, which is an herbal tincture, again, an antimicrobial, so same action as an antibiotic, but it's natural. Within 10 minutes of me taking that, I had called 911 because I felt like I couldn't breathe. I just felt this sudden onset of chest pressure and like I couldn't breathe. It felt like I was wheezing, and my head was spinning, and it just, anyway, I had this severe reaction. This event, thank goodness, as horrible as it was, made my doctor have a light bulb moment. At that point, she figured out that I most likely had something called mast cell activation syndrome. This is something that would also explain my sudden inability to tolerate treatment back in the beginning of 2017. And my exaggerated reaction to the little miniature amount of Banderol, the herbal supplement I had just taken, and also the head pressure that I was feeling and all the exaggerated neurological symptoms that I was feeling. Mast cell activation disorder is a situation where your mast cells, which are in the lining of your brain, your nose, your whole GI tract, they live in the lining of your skin, all the linings of your body, are always on fire, always firing. And what's worse is that because they're firing, anything that you try to put in your body, it attacks. So your immune system is just attacking everything. So she did some tests to confirm, and I do have very elevated histamine levels. There's no reason for your histamine levels to be high unless they've been manipulated in some way. And I also did something called a 24-hour urine test, which tests your urine for traces of histamine and tryptase and other things that your mast cells fire off. She told me, okay, this is something that we can treat. There's something else to treat. It's something we can treat with antihistamines and H2 blockers. And so I didn't really believe that this was actually going to do anything. So I started doing the H2 blockers and the H1 blockers, but I continued on with my application to Johns Hopkins. And then after a month or so, the horrible squeezing in my head was gone. I never thought that feeling was going to go away. It went away. Because the mast cells are now in control, I've been able to restart Lyme treatment. I'm extremely, extremely uncomfortable in ways that I cannot describe. But I am able to be up. I am able to walk around. There were times earlier this year where those were not options. I was completely incapacitated and confused and dizzy and just the worst that I've ever been. The few other things that we're doing right now, I had a Marcon's infection, which is a mold issue in my nose in 2016, which we got rid of. But now it's back. So I'm doing some nose spray as targeted antibiotic treatment for that. But it's antibiotic resistant, so it's going to be a little bit difficult. We're actually having our house tested for mold. And I just did a test this morning. It was a urine test, and I have to ship that off today. I always feel weird walking up to FedEx like with samples of my waste for them, but you know, when you're a Lyme patient, that's what you do all the time. That is going to test for systemic mold issues to see if I have an overall mold problem in my body, not just in my sinus cavity. Apparently there are people who successfully get out of this, so I'm going to hold on to that. You are now up to date with where I am. Going actively through Lyme treatment again, currently still unemployed. My short-term disability was declined, as many other Lyme patients experience, so I am actively appealing that. I tell the camera every week, but I'm really trying to tell myself this every week. Hope is a very powerful thing. So thank you all so much, and I'll see you next week for my first topic video. Bye.